So at Curipod, our mission is to use technology, specifically with AI, to enable classrooms where there's discussion and active participation. So not just students behind screens, but really leaning into those instructional best practices that great teachers do, but that can just be hard to implement every single day in every single lesson. So I'll show you a little bit about how we integrate those best practices into our Curipod lessons, and how not only our platform, but our intentional use of AI really makes it so that, the best thing to do is just the easiest thing to do in your classroom. Before I get started, I'll introduce myself. I'm Allie. I'm the curriculum director at Curipod. I started my career in the classroom teaching primarily upper elementary and middle school. And then I've worked in education nonprofits that prepare teachers for inner city environments before finding my way to ed tech and curriculum development, which is where I've been for the last many years. And at Curipod, I'm just really excited about the fact that we get to make it easier for teachers to deliver lessons that truly engage students as active participants. I know the experience of giving what I thought was a great lesson just to blank faces, and experienced how hard it can be to get kids to raise their hand and participate. And so with Curipod, you're not relying on students to raise their hand, but rather all students are engaged as active participants. So I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. Our newest update has to do with our lesson generator. So back on your home screen, right? This is where all your lessons are, your reports, which you get after every lesson, and we can look at that in a moment too. You'll see this orange button called Generate a Lesson. So I'll click on that, and this is where I get started. I can input my grade level, my subject, and what I need to teach. And from there, Curipod AI will help me to craft a focused and attainable learning objective. So we've prompted so that when you enter your inputs here, we're really helping teachers to refine their learning objectives so that it's aligned with best practices for learning objectives. So I'll do 5th grade social studies, and I'll do the impact of geography on the development of Mayan cities. If I had an existing presentation that I wanted to curify, I could upload that here, and we will be investing in expanding that curify functionality to support uploading files. So if you have a primary source document, or you have a page of your textbook, if you have a video, if you have any sort of reading, we'll be able to upload that, and those will be embedded into your Curipod lesson. But for the sake of now, I will just start with this. And I've input kind of a pretty simple prompt here. The way that we've designed this, teachers do not have to be prompting experts. We have built in all of those prompting best practices into our product here. So you don't need to ask for anything in particular. Curipod by default will integrate those best practices. So all we need to know is what you need to teach. And in this case, I'm going to, oh yes, Felicia, your question.
Yes, so I wanted to know, as I'm looking at this, I see the standards alignment. Would it be able to pick up like New York State Next Gen standards? Is that something that Curipod has already embedded in it? Is that something we have to provide?
Yeah, so all of the standards are, what is available to the LLM. So in this case, you can do New York State Next Gen standards. We are increasingly investing in how we're using standards in the lessons, lesson generation. And so as a starting point, we will be able to align to it. And we'll just be continuing that or evolving that functionality over time. So I can put that in and it'll recognize those standards for sure. I want this to be kind of an introduction lesson because students haven't learned about this yet. And then No lens for now. We'll just keep it focused on the content. But that lens is helpful, if you're teaching, a math concept, you can connect it to student interests. Like, sports is obviously a big one. But anything that students are interested in, you can weave into your lessons. In this case, I could have also, added some sort of like cross-curricular connection, a modern day connection. So it's just a way to make the content more relevant to kids, so they're able to kind of connect to their personal experiences, their interests, and kind of build that schema with the new content. So here we have my learning objective, my subject, my grade, and my learning objective is that students will be able to explain how geographic features, and it pulled out climate, terrain, and natural resources influence the location, growth, and organization of major Mayan cities. And it will be aligned to the New York State Next Generation Social Studies standards. So from here, I think that looks pretty good. If I wanted to refine it more and say like, oh, I actually only want to, focus on one of these features, then I could do that. But just for the sake of our demo, I'll press generate lesson. And now we're brought into the lesson designer. You can see on the left here that there is some typing happening. If you're familiar kind of with ChatGPT or any of other LLMs, you may notice that it often includes thinking steps. And so what we have over here is what the AI is thinking and doing as it's generating the lesson. So our lessons actually generate in a unique order. They follow the backward design framework. So we start every lesson with an exit ticket that is tightly aligned to the learning objective. And then from there, we generate activities and instruction that build towards student mastery of not only that exit ticket, but also, in turn, the learning objective. And so you can read a little bit about the different components of the lesson. In this case, we have the exit ticket. We have a performance task that engages students in authentic practice and application. We have a little wrap-up activity, and we're going backwards here. So we'll see this full flow kind of in forward order in just a second. But at this point now, it's generating those instructional slides. And we actually build in checks for understandings into the instruction so that as the teacher is conveying new information, students are given regular moments to respond and do something with that new knowledge that not only gives teachers an insight into, are students staying with me? Are they getting those key points that they need to get in order to be successful today? But it also ensures that kids aren't just sitting and getting, right? Every few minutes, they are doing something with their learning, whether it's just a quick poll or whether it's a, analog activity like a think, pair, share. We bake in those moments of response and engagement throughout the lesson. And so we're getting into the beginning slides of this lesson here, where we'll have a title slide, an objective. We know in many classrooms, it's kind of mandated that the objective is explicitly shown to students because, when expectations are clear, that is how all humans really meet them. So we make those expectations really clear. And then we always start with a hook. So in this case, it's kind of a like, what would you do situation that's related to the topic of the lesson. And from there, we get into instruction with AI generated images. We have some vocabulary pulled out with those checks for understandings. And so the teacher is provided with the instructional content that they need. And it's really taking different forms, right? It's not just summarizing the information, but it's providing main ideas, of course, but also relating it to specific examples and calling out problems and solutions and framing the content in just different ways so that we're really providing a lot of different entry points into this lesson. There's a lot of embedded vocabulary practice. And then the instruction ends with sort of a wrap up of, what was kind of the main point of this. So from there, we go into that performance task where students are really immersed in scenarios and real world applications. And in this case, the activity kind of builds across these 3 slides so that they're kind of immersed brainstorming, answering a question, they're getting a feedback, AI feedback, and then sharing out what they learn. One thing you'll notice about all Curipod lessons is that there are so many discussion prompts. One of the main reasons to be in person with each other is to learn from one another. So students are given many opportunities to talk, to share, to teach each other, and not just sitting and getting, but using both Curipod's interactive tools, but also those kind of analog experiences in order to really create a classroom of learning together. At the end, every lesson ends with this exit ticket. So, this is kind of that classic, question that gets at, did you get the main point of this lesson? And in this case, and in all lessons, students will, complete the exit ticket and get AI feedback on their response. They'll have a chance to reflect on their feedback and then try again. And so this part of the lesson is where you see that complete feedback loop that is so impossible to achieve as a human. As a teacher, you can't just sprint around the class grading everyone in the moment so that they can apply it right away. But with AI, that is one of the big benefits of AI, is that kids can get that feedback, not only on the content, but how their response is written. And then they're able to complete that feedback loop while the learning is still relevant, not a couple days, not a couple weeks after the learning happens when they don't even remember what they did. So this is a tool, this like write, reflect, revise structure is a structure that has driven just kind of unbelievable growth in our partner schools over the last couple of years. And so this is a really powerful part of the lesson. But with this, one other update we have, in addition to, helping teachers craft that really focused learning objective, in addition to the backward design lesson generation so that everything is really building towards that essential understanding. But, we know that this is a starting point. So, and that every teacher has their own preferences. They know their students and what in particular they need to emphasize in their instruction. And so what the teacher can do then is use our Curipod AI chat to refine this lesson. So they can ask for additional content. They can ask for visuals, like give me an image of the Mayan rainforest. And so this will be AI generated, of course. While this is thinking, I'll just highlight some other tools that teachers can use to refine this. They can click on this manual edit and add visuals. If they have an existing photo, from the internet that they want to use, I know a lot of teachers can just Google it. It's like Mayan rainforest. We can't necessarily provide these, but people can. So you can just go in and copy. And a lot of the times it works if you paste it. But you can just add some visuals here because we know that that is really important for students to, make those connections and not just hear and read the content, but see it visually as well. So I pulled this one from the internet, and then this is the one that AI generated, right? So I can choose from one of these options. But, there's kind of a couple ways to add visuals. If I didn't like this hook, I could go in and say like, give me another hook that gets kids to draw or something. Whatever it is in your mind, you could also just say, give me another hook. I just want a different one. And then AI will kind of serve you up another hook that might better meet your needs. So there's a lot that teachers can do just quickly to really make this their own. Of course, if they're like, I don't like this poll, I'm just going to delete that. I want to kind of reorder some slides. And go from there, then they can do that too. But with the Curipod AI, they're able to kind of make those refinements as they need them to make this perfect for their classroom or for their grade team or the larger school or district that they work in. So these are some of the big updates that we've made. Wondering if any questions or noticings, what stands out to you, for better or worse? That's a great question, Felicia. And actually, my colleague Lexi will be speaking a little bit about our pricing models. But yes, all of these features I just mentioned are free to certain limits, usage limits. And so we'll get into that a little bit more. The test prep, that's a great question. So, I highlighted here where you can curify materials, this plus button. If you're looking for test prep or quick writes, kind of these are our two of our standalone products that are known and loved by Curipod users. But you just click on this menu and click test prep. And then, depending upon where your state is, it'll default to your state, but you'll be able to choose your test, your subject, and then the question type. As a reminder, Curipod is really designed to support open response questions for state tests. We're not necessarily supporting all of the multiple choice and the tech-enabled question types. The value that AI provides is really in that AI feedback. And so our test prep is aligned to support those open response questions across subjects, though, because we know that they're also the case for math and science and social studies. And from there, you can use your own materials, whether you have your own question, upload your own passage, or you can have AI create the materials for you. And that way you can do test prep on anything. You can make it relevant to students' interests and lives, or you can really lean into the content that you're already teaching. And so if you're doing a unit on Mayan geography, you can actually use that as your topic. And you can, choose the genre. One thing I really like, it's kind of a secret, is doing social studies and science topics, but with a fiction passage. It kind of makes like a cool historical fiction, all rooted in facts, of course, but just like a different entry point for kids. And it makes those cross-curricular connections kind of relevant, even to test prep. So, and we'll talk about figurative language. Test prep is part of our school and district plan. So it is something that is not actually fully available for free, although there is one question type that is free for all users. So you can check that out. And this will generate not only that practice passage, but also the question, as well as the AI feedback that is aligned to the state test rubric. And so the passage, the question, the feedback are all tightly aligned with the design of the test. Of course, it doesn't look exactly like the test because we are in Curipod. We start with the rubric so students know what's expected of them. We have the passage here. So this is the hidden pathways of the Mayan jungle, and we've written a fiction story about that. We have a quick kind of like check for understanding, just to kind of get kids to recall and share what they learned from the reading, and then they jump into that question. Again, this is where we leverage that write, reflect, revise structure. And so I generated this based on the CASP test, but no matter what state you're in, we do extensive research to align all the components to the test itself. And then the last thing I'll highlight are just the quick writes. These are just quick 5 to 20 minute writing practice activities. And we are working to expand these over time. We do have new infinitely generatable options here that are pretty cool. So you can check these out. But in addition to our, all of that is encompassed kind of in this main flow. So that is the overview of what is new, focusing on kind of generating high quality lessons with AI that bake in those best practices throughout the lesson, so that teachers just have to tell us what it is that they need to teach. Any other questions? And if not, I will pass it off to Lexi to talk about our pricing structure.
Nice, thanks so much, Allie. Is it possible for you to navigate to the pricing page?
For sure.
Thanks.
So if you're ever in Curipod and you want to, find resources, you can click Learn More. And here we have pricing.
Nice. So as Ali mentioned, we have a freemium model in Curipod, which means that teachers can get started for free and access many of the benefits in the platform for free. With a lot of the changes that we've just released, we are using more AI than ever in Curipod, which means that your teachers have higher quality lessons, and they are also able to make them exactly customized to what you need very, very easily. But that also means that the cost of our platform increases. So there are now some limitations on the AI use in Curipod on the free plan. So if your teachers are planning on using Curipod as a primary tool of instruction or multiple times per week, that's when it's time to kind of reach out to us to get on a school plan. And the limitations on the AI in Curipod encompass all the different parts of that where we use AI. So that's in the lesson creation process, in the editing with AI, lesson refinement, in giving feedback to students, and then also in generating reports. Outside of the limitations on the AI usage in Curipod, the other things that you get on the school and district plan are access to the full test prep suite, as well as access to all of our writing content that Ali showed at the end of the lesson. A shared workspace. So if you're building curriculum out across your team, you can really easily share those lessons amongst all your teachers at different schools and across the district, as well as single sign-on with Clever, ClassLink, and Google. So those are kind of the big differences between the school plan. And I think that the change in Curipod now is if you're going to be using it regularly and you're wanting access to those AI features, that's when it's time to reach out to our partnerships team. So we're very happy to help you. Any questions based on that? I know, Felicia, you had a question earlier about that, so I hope that clarifies it. Super.
Excellent. Well, if you're interested in exploring more, I want to highlight the impact and efficacy tab here. We have a lot more of these impact studies actually in the works, but we have some like kind of mind-blowing impact stories from customers in Texas, California, and Michigan, with many more in the works. So go ahead and read those. And then we also have a number of resources like Training PD. Our blog is where you can stay up to date with, kind of what we believe and also what's new with best practices for using Curipod as well. So you can take a look at that. Or learn more about how to use Curipod in any of your classrooms subjects. The beauty of AI generated lessons is that truly you can generate a lesson on anything, anything in the world. So I've generated some really great ones on, co-creating classroom rules and expectations for the beginning of the year, anything for those social or emotional skills, or, we have a lot of career and technical educators who use it to teach about, be auto mechanics or hospitality. And then of course you have your K-12 subjects and content. So there really is no limit to what you can generate. So definitely go and give it a shot. But it all starts with this generate lesson button. And we hope that you have a really great time generating lessons and seeing all that Curipod can do. Look at that, we're a minute under. Well, Felicia, the rest of you, the other participants who work at Curipod here, thank you for joining us today. It was great to spend some time with you. Please don't hesitate to reach out. Lexi, I don't know if you want to share your email with Felicia, maybe she already has it, but we are always happy to talk about your specific schools' needs and how we can work together to support great instruction across classrooms. So thanks so much for joining today. We will share this recording as well, so look for that in your inbox. All righty, have a great day. Thanks, everyone.